Hello, everyone, and welcome to GW4W's Wine and Tea Wednesdays. We hope you have a beverage. And we are really excited today to have our member and one of our new partners for Global Women for Wellbeing, the founder and CEO of Clockr, Apoorva Chintala. Welcome, Apoorva.
Hi, everyone. It's nice to see y'all. And thank you, Mim, for having me here today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, it's such a pleasure. So we always want to share with our audience a little bit about, well, how did you become a female entrepreneur and what was the inspiration for you in creating Clockr?
Yeah, so I can go into a little bit about that. I think that main story that I always tell everyone is Clocr is really centric around my grandfather. He was like the main inspiration for us starting it. He passed away when I was in high school. I think I was a freshman or a sophomore at that time. And my whole family lives in India. So my dad had to go back being the eldest child. And there were just these boxes of just his old writings, his old articles that he used to write. He was used to be a professor, just things that he owned due to his apartment, all of that. And he had 3 children. So my dad had no idea who my grandfather wanted to pass on all that stuff to. And he basically just had to do a lot of guesswork. And having to do all of that on top of having to mourn a death in the family is just really emotionally burdening. And it's something that I think that can be a really difficult thing to go through because already it's such an emotional thing to have to deal with that. And so coming back, we tried to see if there was anything that would kind of help you prepare for that last stage, that's just to kind of ease the burden and pain and frustration that could happen without being prepared with all of your things. And there was really nothing out there that meets our needs that we have today, especially in this digital world. There was really nothing that kind of matched the needs that we have as a society. And so that's kind of what led us to starting Clockr.
Yeah, and I know you and I have shared personal stories around caregiving, and it is very personal to, I think, everyone on our leadership team here. Finding these documents, having them when you really need them, because it's also about, frankly, end of life, or if people are in hospice, and having access to specific medical information, and allowing people to have access, and the right people. So again, when we talked, I'm very curious about this kind of concept of this technology that works kind of like a file cabinet. So maybe if you could tell us a little bit more about, why you designed it that way, and what are some of the things that people could put into that as a caregiver?
Yeah, for sure. So basically what you can put on there, I guess first you can store and share all of your most important documents or sensitive information that you have. So that could be your will, it could be your medical records, your power of attorney, medical power of attorney, and all those things, any DNR requests that you have. So all those important documents that you want to keep safe, you can store into Clockr. And one thing that we do that's kind of centric to what we're offering is that you're able to have full control over who you want to share that information with, when you want them to have access to it, and you can even control like which things you want to control. You want someone to control. So if let's say I have 2 daughters or something like that, and I want one daughter to be in control of something, and I want another daughter to be in control of something, I have full capability of being able to kind of section off my information and even not give them access to it until something happens to me. So if I don't want them to have access to it today, I can still give them access to it at a certain time that I give. And I think that's the bigger piece of what we're offering that I think other cloud storage companies don't offer. And the reason we built it that way is because we had the intention of the caregiver and their needs in mind, or your loved ones in mind. And so that's kind of why we did it like that.
Yeah, I think anybody, who's listening to this who's been a caregiver, when you're going through, a medical emergency, or even if it's a long-term caregiving situation, having all that stuff for me, and again, I seriously wish I would have had this, as a caregiver to both my father and my stepdad, because, if you're in a hospital room and a doctor's asking you for specific information and you just, you keep it in a folder at home. I mean, I ran up against this, and it's really what got me interested in finding out more about this. But I think it's also the ability to say, well, if you're doing long-term caregiving and you need to take a break, and we so advocate for this as caregivers, that you must take care of yourself, that this allows you to give access to specific people for a limited amount of time if you need to do that, which I think is really a unique gift for anybody who's, ever gone through this to have.
For sure. And yeah, and that kind of like granular access and all of those things are basically why it's so important to have a solution that is built for this industry, that is built for the people that will be using it. And so, yeah, that too. And then a few of the other things that we're working on as well. Basically, just we want this to be the one place where all of your, we can basically take care of all of your needs, and just make that process as easy as we can for you.
Yeah, and I love when you talk about needs. I mean, the real practical side for me is how few people really understand why a will is so important, or a trust, or who has the beneficiary information. If you have a will and you have some financial um, investments, there may be separate beneficiaries depending on where those are. It can be very complicated. And I think that for anybody who hasn't gone through this, um, this is truly a gift to have all of this in place before you have to go through all these things. Because there is no time frame around this. You can't say, oh, well, in 6 weeks, somebody's going to be in the hospital, or they're
Yeah.
suddenly going to start to fail. So now we need to, and I think just this ability to be proactive and think through what actually needs to be in there. Even things like if your mother, your father is living by themselves and up to this point has been able to take care of themselves, but they have a cleaning person or they have a pet sitter, right? You may not think about that, but there's all these like smaller pieces of the puzzle that can start to get overwhelming, I think, as as a caregiver. And this access. I think the other application here really is there are quite a few executives that move around a lot for their careers and end up also becoming a caregiver. And I think, as you were talking about your dad flying really to another country to try and get this resolved, that, this just it brings home that if I'm in an airport and I get a call from an emergency room, you can send them your power of attorney. You have that list of medications if they can't speak for themselves. I mean, the ability to um, really be present and be able to problem solve very quickly and have everything you need in place is, I would hope that people would understand how much easier it makes it for everyone. And I think the other thing too is, I know since we first started talking, some of these really cool pieces that you've put in here about preserving memories
Mhm.
of loved ones. And I'd love to hear a little bit more about how people are using that, and what kinds of things you're suggesting for people to put in there.
Yeah, so I can talk a little, that's another one of the features that we offer. So basically the idea behind it, we're calling it the Time Capsule right now, but basically the idea behind it is that, as you are going through life, you're getting older, you're collecting all these memories and experiences with your loved ones, with your children, other family, things like that. But right now technology has gone so far, but I feel like, passing on your legacy, that hasn't kind of caught up. That kind of industry hasn't caught up with the technology and the things that we're able to do today. So what we're trying to do is offer an easy way for you to kind of pass on those little stories, those little memories that you have, little things that you learn about yourself, about your children throughout life, and pass them on either after you pass or maybe on a special occasion, like whether that's like a birthday or anniversary or anything like that. And so some of the things that we suggest people to pass on through a time capsule is any photos that you may have when your children are younger, when your family that from like maybe years ago, or one thing that I thought probably one of my favorites is recording. We're going to be offering like recording videos so that you can time it for like special occasions after you pass. So, like if you want to record for like special birthdays, like 18th birthday, 21st birthday, or like special anniversaries, so that your family or your loved ones still have a piece of you even after you pass, and you'll be able to just basically say anything that you want and pass it on in a way that you're really not able to do now. So those are a few things that we're trying to incorporate into our platform as well. Just that more emotional side, that passing on your, I guess, emotional legacy, your messages, and anything else you want to say.
Yeah, and that's such a beautiful thing. I know, here we are in the middle of a pandemic, and so many people that unfortunately don't get to say goodbye, and are having to put off, like, the normal ways that we grieve.
Mm.
And so this is another, at least for me, it really brings it home. And again, it is personal for me. I did lose my stepfather, back in December. And this idea of being able to do a recording and ask them the questions that are most important. I'll share a little tiny story that one of my stepbrother to my stepdad, when he was graduating from college, he asked my stepdad what was most important to him in life. Now, I'll preface this with my stepdad was the most organized guy I've ever met in my entire life. He was amazing from that perspective. And everything was in order when he passed. We knew where everything was. So that was such a huge gift. But it was so wonderful to hear that the most important thing to him in his life was to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such an interesting message to hear from somebody who was almost 94 years old, that was, had a career and did all these other things, like these core things about what is so important to life. And so I love that you have incorporated this, and give people an ability, particularly if they live in other countries, or if we go through, you can't travel for something, to be able to hear that person and share those kinds of memories. It's so much about this concept of, what I always like to call good grief. And that you can mourn in a way and share in those memories and have those really good memories to hold them for many years to come.
Mm-hmm.
And I
For
think
sure.
yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry for interrupting you, but yeah, I was gonna say, like, when my grandfather passed away, I wasn't able. The last time I saw him before he passed away, I had no idea. We had no idea that he was gonna be sick, right? In the next couple of years, and so my dad was like able to go and just see my family and be with them, but the rest of us, like, we had school, we had other things going on, so we weren't able to go. And even now during the pandemic, like, my grandparents are getting older. It's scary because it's like, if
Mhm.
something were to happen now, like, they can barely work like Zoom and FaceTime as it is right now. So it's like just 2 minutes here and there. And so I'd like love to be able to, and I'm so glad that, you guys are able to, I guess, like, remember these little pieces of your stepdad. So for me, I was a lot younger when I saw my grandfather, so I barely remember things he used to tell me. So
Mhm.
I'd like love to give anything just to hear like one last video from him, and then also just being able to stay connected to my grandparents as well. So I
Yeah.
think definitely just important, as you said, like good grief, just that good grieving process. Definitely just like learning now as I'm growing up, like the importance of that, and staying connected as well.
Yeah. And, I think, again, it depends on what generation you're from or what you've experienced in your own life. But I think for many of us, and again, it just depends on what your experiences are. But if you lived through the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, as an example, I had friends that were 28 years old. And, and I think of them fondly, but it's just another place, like, what if we could still have a little bit of their voice and their,
Mm-hmm.
um, their energy in our own lives, and being able to experience that. And it's a tough subject. I think, as a society, and not just American society. I mean, I've heard this from all over. They're like, why aren't we talking about this in Europe? Or why aren't we talking about this in India? Why aren't we talking? And I think that there's just been this taboo, really. And, oh, we're gonna live forever. Or we're gonna, you anti-aging this and anti-aging that. And sometimes I wish that were true, but we all know it's not. So I think this ability to embrace, um, just being alive and the time that we have, and being able to be mindful of what we want to cherish and have for future generations, um, is such an important gift to so many people. And we when we talk in the wellness world, and I've been looking at so many technologies for so many years, as have many people, Nancy Board and a bunch of us, that have been doing this for years, that are part of Global Women for Wellbeing. Um, there are a lot of, similar types of things that talk about step programs and eating well and, huge focus on mental health and well-being. But there is still so little discussion about this part of what it means to be alive and why it really is part of your well-being. Um, I personally, I sat down and I was like, how many times have I actually sat next to somebody that was in the last 2 weeks of their life? And I mean, was with them, not just once, but with them for an extended period of time. So I've done that about 6 times now. And it is destigmatized so much of this for me. And I think it helps you make hopefully better choices for yourself, about what empowers you, what brings you joy, what puts you into flow and connects you to purpose. And I think about Clockr as this amazing place to check in, particularly if you had mentors in your life that you can keep close to you, because we can get very busy and forget about those things. And I think the other practical thing, which we touched on a little bit, was this idea of understanding what legal documents, which I know sounds kind of boring. But let me tell you, if you have ever handled an estate, or suddenly found that you were the executor and you can't find any of these documents, the stress level, and I can tell you that personally, my husband is going through that right now. Again, it was like, oh, well, of course he had a will. No.
I can imagine, yeah.
And this is overseas, so now it gets more complicated because you've got international pieces of the puzzle. So, it's the, for me, wellness and well-being is always about what can you put in place that's going to help you most during times of crisis and change. And it's practical, So I know you've had some people using this. What are some of the comments you've gotten back from some of the users that you have on the platform?
So just for some context, we actually went through a pivot last year to kind of become a more all-encompassing platform, and it just happened right around the time of the pandemic. And so I think many of us were just facing grief head on. And so I think with that, we did a bunch of different pitch competitions. We were growing our just beta users just to test out the platform with the new features and things like that. And their response has just been absolutely tremendous. And just so overwhelmingly positive, and that this is something that they either wish they had before or that they will start using now, I think we've seen the amount of deaths that have happened, unfortunately, over the past year. And I think almost all of us have either known someone or known someone else that either their family was impacted by COVID or something else. And I think that just kind of forced all of us to realize our own mortality, I guess. I think we just kind of went along with life until at least I'm just speaking, I guess, for myself and people that I know, but just forgetting that piece of this is the only time we have here, until we started seeing all these things. And so that really has been super validating in continuing our mission to be able to make this process easier. And so almost every single person that I've talked to through these pitch competitions or just our beta users, people that we're partnering with, we've had along with GW4W, just financial planners and estate lawyers that have expressed interest in working with us, just show us that this is something that they love to offer to their customers, or just something that is so needed for themselves as just a person, but then also the people that they're working with, who are thinking about these things. So yeah, it's been really great, and we're just really happy to be a GW4W partner and could just continue on making our solution as easy as possible to use, because that's the most important thing for us, just make this process as easy as possible.
Well, we are really honored and to have you as a partner. And and again, the generosity, just so our network knows and everybody listening, Clocr is being offered to our members at a discount. And there's also a discount for anybody in the GW4W network. Not quite as much as our members, but it is a nice discount. So So we really want to encourage people to take a look at what this offers and understand that this is something that I personally am going to be using. This is not something that we're just going out there and it's so core to who we are as an organization. It is about lifting up our partners and our members. It's about highlighting female entrepreneurs, female business leaders at all levels and from all backgrounds. And particularly when it hits on something that is so core to who we are as an organization. And it's not just another thing about, oh, do you know these numbers and here's another survey. We all need the information, we all need to be inspired. But I think that one thing, particularly with all the change and upheaval we had, are real action steps, real tools that make our lives just a little bit easier through this like incredibly stressful time. And to see this out there in the way that it's being used, we really could not be more excited about being able to offer this and advocate for it, knowing the kind of benefits that it can truly provide. I think, now you said, correct me if I'm wrong, you're also launching in India, right?
Yes, we are. This past couple months, we've been gearing up to launch our website and everything in India. So that's something that's coming up soon as well. I'm glad that that's kind of like our big second market. Just most of my family is there, and so yes, we are super excited to be offering it in India very soon. Not quite yet though.
Good. No, that's great. No, so yeah, more to come. Well, you'll have to let us know so we can let our network, in India know about it and get them connected to it. But so what's next for you? I know many of you, if you've ever heard Apoorva speak before, know that she's a student at University of Texas, Austin. And so what's next for you?
I guess for me, I still have one more year of school left, so I'll be doing that alongside all the Clocr stuff. I, after graduation, hope to be doing this full time, but we'll see with this next year. But in terms of Clocr stuff, we are getting a lot of traction very quickly. And so we are just hoping to get our product out there in front of as many people as we can, just to continue helping people as much as we can. So we're really growing our team as well, our marketing team, sales team, business development team, and all of that. But basically just trying to expand as much as we can over this next year. Thankfully, I know I've probably said this before, but GW4W has been super helpful in just helping us, giving us encouragement and advice, I guess, first, but then also just connecting us to a lot of great people that are able to help us as well, that are able to help us scale as well. So thank you so much, Mim and the GW4W team. Y'all have been—
It is truly our pleasure. Truly, truly our pleasure. And it is, it's what we do. We really want to help people make the right connections and get the right business partners together, help people get venture capital for things that we think, are truly going to, support people throughout our global network. And we are so grateful for the partnership with Clocr. We really are, because not only is, can you get a really great product out of this, we just want to acknowledge that Clocr also supports us. And that means that together we are working on this mission to empower more healthy female leadership at all levels and from all backgrounds for a more sustainable world. And I can't imagine, any mission or part of this right now that's more important than giving support to caregivers, whether it's for children, adults, other loved ones. This is just something that we really advocate for. So we are at the end of time, unfortunately, and it has been such a joy to have you on with us. So we're going to ask everybody to raise a glass. Get that in there. Yep. And this is to a healthier, more sustainable, more inclusive world for all of us.
I will toast to that on my water bottle.
And we invite you to connect with GW4W through our website, through LinkedIn, Facebook. If you have a topic or comments, please reach out to us in the chat, or you can certainly email us at info@gw4w.com. We just want to acknowledge too that we know this has been a very tough time for so many people. And if you are struggling, if you are feeling alone, we have mental health and well-being experts around the world. We're here to lift each other up. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And we hope that you'll join us next week for another episode of GW4W's Wine and Tea Wednesdays. Until then, we ask you to remember, great minds sip together. We'll see you next week.
All right. Thank you all. Bye.